public office so that we get an idea of where they stand on the particular issues. And this year I am predicting it's going to be an issue-oriented type of campaign. But that doesn't leave out the school board elections, which have become so important over the last few years as we're watching theories relating to teaching and relating to syllabus in certain subject areas and so on, the social sciences, that have upset a lot of parents. We actually saw the race in Virginia actually decided on what's happening in the schools and teaching and so on. And we've got a great person with us right now, Jackie Napolitano-Furno. I really hope I'm saying that correctly. Jackie is a Village of Oyster Bay police officer, also formerly with NYPD. Jackie's running for the school board in actually re-election to the Connetquot school board. Jackie, welcome to the show.
Hi, how are you?
Doing well. Interested in what you have to say, because again, a lot of us tend to ignore that May 17th, which is now the date that the state uses for the school budgets and the school board elections and so on. And I've always said that we've ignored that because a lot of people feel, the school boards, it doesn't mean much, but it does, particularly this day and age when we're seeing certain types of politics starting to transcend itself into the school board elections. In addition to the fact that many school board members actually use it as a base to launch another campaign, be it state senate, state assembly, or county legislature, other types of offices. So just give us a quick overview. You've been there now for how many years as a school board member?
This is my third year.
Okay, your third year as a school board member. What is it that you hope to bring forth, and what do you think is the stuff that really gets to you the most?
I think that what I'd like to bring forth is some additional mental health services, which I have advocated for the last 3 years. And since the pandemic hit, we're seeing such a rise in suicides and a rise in the mental health needs of children that never needed this services before. So that's my top priority right now.
Okay. And
also, I wanted to make the schools a safer environment because that's where my 22 years in law enforcement has helped, and I'm able to sit on a lot of these emergency management team and safety committees with the school, and I'm able to give some oversight and some background that helps. And we were actually able to advocate to bring in armed guards and stronger actual technology. We have Connetquot is like number 2 on Long Island and across New York in how safe we keep our security and the amount of technology. It's just amazing what they've done.
Right. But again, we could point to somebody like you with a background in police work and how important it is with a active duty police officer or retired police officer to use that expertise. I see many people who are not really versed in law enforcement don't understand the training and the social skills, and I've always said this: a police officer has to be a sociologist and a psychologist and a criminologist and somebody that knows about medical backgrounds and so on. People don't see it that way. Certainly you do, because with all the years that you have, what we say in law enforcement, on the job, means that expertise is so valuable to other areas. Do you see that as part of what you've done in the past with Connetquot School District, and now also running for re-election?
Absolutely, and it's been great to work with such great people. And like I said, I was a youth officer in the city for 7 years, so I actually got to work in the schools, and I really learned and developed partnerships with the schools and with school safety. And so out here on Long Island, being able to do similar things now as a board member and be able to facilitate some of these partnerships among our police departments and Homeland Security and the school administrators and our school safety and security. It's been amazing to be part of the team.
If you're just joining us, I'm speaking with Jackie Napolitano-Furno, running for re-election to the Connetquot School Board. Has a very active background in police work, Village of Oyster Bay, and also a former police officer with NYPD. Always great to have uniformed services on this show, which is what you certainly have represented. But what about I hate to even bring this up, but I hear this so many of these school board elections have becoming very contentious. Parents are upset that some school districts, I don't know what's happening in Connetquot, you might be able to tell us if it's become a campaign issue, on what's being taught in the schools. A lot of so-called experts in education want to be able to dictate the syllabus and what the younger kids are learning today in terms of not having parental input. Is that part of what could be a campaign this year in terms of having parents at least have a say in what's being taught?
Absolutely, because what we're seeing now is a contentious board meeting. We're seeing so much division, unfortunately, with all of these controversial issues that have been born, I feel, out of the pandemic. I mean, 2 years of who's for masking, who's for unmasking, who's fighting for unmasking, who's fighting for masking, who's fighting for vaccinations, who's fighting for for keeping vaccinations out and being parental choice. I mean, I fought for parental choice, and I even got some backlash from the community. Right. It is, like I've said to people, it's not only it's been contentious, but we're seeing parents that are paying attention more. They're watching the board meetings because they started to be live streamed. They're watching when we had to be on Zoom, when we couldn't be in the boardroom. They're watching, and they are getting a voice. They are becoming their own advocates for their children, more so now than they ever were, in my opinion, before. And you're seeing it at board meetings because more people want to talk, and more people have a lot to say and a lot of research that they're doing, especially about the curriculum. And the curriculum they don't want brought into schools that could harm children or cause more divide.
You know, that seems to be, in a nutshell, is to the input of parents versus the input of the, again, I always say so-called experts, because I have seen these arguments, things that are very, very distasteful, and I've read quite a bit on this critical race theory and how that could be integrated into our young people. And this is coming from some blue ribbon panel that may be impaneled somewhere in Washington, D.C., or the Ivy Towers or what have you. But I've tried to look at it on a very neutral basis, but I don't see it that way. I see it as a very dangerous concept that could, if instituted in every classroom in the United States of America, could fundamentally change how we think, and how we think in what I would consider a very false way. Has that come up? Just the issue of critical race theory, because that, to me, it's a dangerous concept, and I think it's very dangerous in and of itself on not allowing parents and just the social upbringing of a household, and also of being in a community as a child grows up, to see that the reality of it. But critical race theory, very, very bad, Jackie.
Well, like I've said, most people that know me, I've actually said this during public meetings, I'm very much against CRT being brought into a school K-5 right. environment of any kind. I know that it's taught in some degree at college level, and I understand it's a more mature audience that maybe would be able to understand better. I just have always felt that we can't allow anything to be taught that seeks to divide or hurt our students. And that is what it would do. It would actually cause more divide, and many people don't see it that way. But I try to explain in a lot of ways. I try to tell people that when you bring that kind of divisive curriculum into a district, not only does it cause divide, but you're teaching children that, one could potentially be considered a white supremacist because of the color of their skin. Yes. And what about children of ethnicities? I want my children, and I teach my children, to love all people, all colors, all races, all genders. We should not ever judge somebody by the color of their skin. And the minute that we start bringing CRT into our schools, the minute that we bring something like even DEI, diversity might be a wonderful thing to have, but you can bring diversity in without bringing curriculums such as diversity, equity, and inclusion that also have an anti-police yes. portion of it, which I would be very much against, because we do have so many families that have police personnel. They have police mothers or fathers or family members, or maybe they want to be a police officer when they get older. Do we really want to teach our children to be anti-police, anti-American, or that race is what divides us? Instead of, when we were children, when we had a traditional curriculum, it was that we were all we were all one. We were all one. One race, one American, all Americans. That's what we were. Now we want to teach children that there's several different races, and I think that we should all still try to be one, raising our children together in a community.
Right. Again, one of the best explanations of CRT and the impact that it has and the falsehoods of the basic premises of CRT. I saw it yesterday on a panel that the United States Congress or the Senate put together in order to discuss. It was people speaking for or against the Supreme Court nominee, and a woman came forward with the explanation of CRT because the Supreme Court nominee is somebody who supports it. They have seen in her court decisions on the district court, on the circuit court, that there is a movement to support any sort of constitutional effort to establish CRT, and the person that explained it was absolutely magnificent. She happened to be a woman of color, but explained it that CRT, critical race theory, as taught and as promulgated right now, can do an extreme amount of damage to young people by making them ashamed of their race because of past discretions in the evolution of the great American experiment. And I have seen that, and I've seen the theories behind of what she was saying, and I thought she was magnificent, because if anybody could listen to her and what she had to say, you might have a more even-handed opinion about that. And I guess the question I have for you is, are these issues in Long Island school board races?
This one is absolutely.
Yeah.
One of the people that is going to possibly be running against me would be somebody who has supported it, has used the hashtag CRT, has used the hashtag DEI, hashtag civil rights, hashtag racism. I mean, like I've said to people, we cannot change the past, so I'll always respect where everyone came from, but we can change what we do in the future. We can grow off of it, and we can build a better Connetquot for our children to grow up in, and not have race divide us, and not have social justice or politics treat us all like pawns, because that is exactly what it's become. When I ran for the board 3 years ago, I ran because I want to do what's best for children, and I wanted to be their advocate. I was told from many people that, Jackie, you can be relentless. Jackie, you are definitely a fighter. You can definitely get in there and advocate for kids. I used to go to board meetings for like 10 years leading up, and I used to go to the mic and stand up for kids, whether it was for my own or for other people's, people who just didn't want to speak at the mic. I went up there and I spoke my 3 minutes during public session, and I learned that, you know what, maybe I need to get on the other side of the table to see what's going on and to make a bigger difference. And that's what I've tried to do, and I'll continue to do it for as long as they allow me to.
Yeah. And, for all intents and purposes, you have done that, because you have made a little bit of a stir down there in terms of seeing a more common sense. We talk about this on this program, our midday program, every single day, is the common sense approach to issues and problems and so on. I truly believe in, and of course where you stand on this also, is that we all want the same. We want the same for our children and our grandchildren. We want the same values that are being taught: respect for our country, respect for the laws, respect for our police officers. Because in certain areas of this country, you have college professors giving out assignments on who could write the best anti-police dissertation based on police violence, stuff that we hear from our politicians. I've rejected the phrase police violence. It's a non-existent phrase. It's only there to bring a level of incendiary against the great men and women of law enforcement. We see that all the time. But if only we could espouse what is right and what is good and the common sense approach to it, I think we could make a lot of headway. I just fear that sometimes that message doesn't get through. You have that similar feeling?
I do, and I also think many people don't realize how easily a new curriculum could be brought in. Many people think it can't be brought in, and it's not being taught. When there are some levels or some degree of racial social justice being taught that people say is possibly necessary. But I say when you have a board member who has the ability that they can direct the superintendent to investigate or pilot a curriculum, that superintendent sets the actual curriculum. So really the most important job of a board member is who they have as their superintendent. And at Connetquot, we have a superintendent who is leaving in the next year, who actually came out and said that at one of the board meetings, that she's retiring. So that's going to be something in this next term that's going to need to be done. That is a huge task in getting the right leadership in, after we've had such a leader in place that knows the culture of Connetquot. Now we need to put someone else in place, and we also need to remember that the board members do have some sort of authority over curriculum, because, like I said, they're able to direct the superintendent to investigate or pilot a program curriculum. Yeah. And I would hate to ever see that happen with something that could divide and hurt our students, right, whether they are from the ethnic backgrounds or from, regardless of race, gender. It should not matter. We should be uniting our students.
Yeah. And I think what you say, obviously you anticipated my next question, is the authority, or I hate to use the word power, but we'll go back to authority, of a school board member, and what can they do. And I think you have taken that approach of, you're putting it all out there in terms of people vote for, and I'm going to mention your name again, Jackie Napolitano-Furno. If you vote for Jackie, Furno, okay. If you vote for Jackie, you're going to get that activism, and I think that's important, because many times people say, well, school board members, all they do is vote for the budget, and then they give the budget to us, and then we decide if we want to vote for it or not. I don't think that's true. I think that if a parent comes to you and makes a complaint that a teacher said something to my 8-year-old, and they're troubled by it, I think that's an issue there, because there are people in the classroom, and I almost hate to do this, but there are people in the classroom, I'm talking about teachers, that do have political feelings about certain issues in this country, and they have that First Amendment right to do that. But do they have the right to bend it in such a way to put it to the young people, particularly when it comes down to defunding the police? We've heard politicians talk about racism relative to law enforcement. All wrong concepts, and if they understood it, they wouldn't say it, but they do. So when a complaint like that is fielded, is a board member able to handle it?
I think what ends up happening in a lot of these cases is it has to be investigated by the superintendent and the building leadership. And then at that point, it's told to the board, and the board has to look into what they tell us happened. And a lot of times I like to research and verify, because you always want to be able to tell a parent, this is what happened, maybe something was taken out of context, because that's the other thing. With children, it's very difficult because, especially in the younger grades, you have to understand that they don't remember exactly how something went on, and their perspective of something or how it happened may not be exactly what was said or done.
Right.
So it is good to, like I said, verify. I always like to verify things. And like all humans, I've made my mistakes, and I'm sure many people have in the beginning, because you know what? You have to learn. Sometimes, this is a learning experience when you get on a school board. The first year is a serious learning curve, so much to learn, especially with the schools, especially if you're not an educator, because you have to learn how educators handle things and how they have a lot on their plate with a lot of children. And we do have a lot of special needs children that I've also advocated for heavily, because services are detrimental to getting them the help they need so they can move forward and do well and succeed.
Well, once again, talk about success. We're wishing you much success on May 17th. Is there any websites or Facebook pages where folks could learn more about you?
Absolutely. There is a Facebook page on, we have a Facebook page that I have people running. It is Jackie Napolitano-Furno for Connetquot School Board. They can look it up on Facebook. I have an Instagram account that's Jacqueline Napolitano for Connetquot School Board. And then we also have a slices and signs being given out at Lakeland Fire Department, Firehouse. That'll be on this Saturday from 1 to 4 p.m.
Once again, that's great.
And greeting people.
Jackie Napolitano-Furno. I got it right that time.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, and good luck to you.
Thank you. Take care.
Okay. 2 o'clock hours upon us, breaking it down.